Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues, friends, familiar faces, new friends, hopefully at the end of the conference as well, dear LESA colleagues, thank you for organizing this now for the fourth time, if I counted correctly. My name is Mettke. I work for GIZ, the German Development Corporation, and I'm happy to share a few thoughts that I put together yesterday night. And I hope they still make sense this morning. I'm confident, and hopefully they give a little bit of a framework and show you some examples of what we've been doing here with our partners in Albania. There's a picture in the picture, which is not from me. Hopefully this doesn't bother you. We have been a proud partner of FABER since the beginning. You see 3 pictures from the last years. We have been involved in different conversations, different topics, and what Elisa already mentioned, what started as a small gathering and event has grown to something much bigger, and we are very happy to be part and hopefully in the future stay part of this gathering of experts. Myself, I've been in the country now that long, so I took the picture on the left and on the right a colleague took, but this happened in October this year, where we invited more than 600, so the city of Tirana together with us and the NGO, Walk 21, organized a conference with over 600 registered guests from over 60 countries coming to Tirana, talking, discussing about walkability, livable cities, placemaking. But when I came first, the same place looked still like this, and many of you probably still remember. I still tried to get up. I've heard that was a tradition at that point to get up to the pyramid. But within a few years, this place was transformed and is now, I would say, one of the highlights of the city in terms of public spaces and people coming together. But the big question is, you said we talk about inclusive smart cities. What is this even? I've been studying urban geography, political science, infrastructure planning as a student, and I took a picture of my PhD supervisor many years ago from his shelf with all the books. And yesterday when I looked for pictures where it says smart cities, because our AI in the phone can now search for pictures with smart cities, it showed me this shelf with a lot of yellow dots, and it says smart cities here, smart cities here. So a lot of people thought about this already for many, many years, and not only since the last 5. So a lot of people looking for cities. This is a picture from the Chinese leader during a different time. When I was arriving in Hanoi last year, there was a construction going on, and it says North Hanoi Smart City. There was not a lot of smart city yet built, but smart city itself becomes a brand now as well globally. And we have to be quite aware of what developers mean by smart cities and what maybe researchers mean by smart cities or people who live then in those cities. This is a picture from the Philippines where I worked before Albania. A lot of smart people have been involved in creating this environment as well. Engineers, traffic planners, politicians, but is this really smart? Is this inclusive? Try to cross the streets here, you're stuck in traffic as well. This is a picture from Tirana, from this beautiful square that has been transformed within the, I think how many years now? 10 years, exactly, almost 10 years. And for me, if you would ask me to select a picture for smart, inclusive cities, this seems very smart to me. It seems relatively inclusive. You can walk, you can play, you can sit, you can discuss, you can gather, you can protest, you can celebrate, you can try to sell things, you can meet at any time. For me, this is a very lovely place. Of course, not all places in Albania or in the world look like this. We see pictures here also from Tirana, a lot of traffic going on. The vehicle fleet is growing quite drastically. This has impact, of course, on the whole country. Everyone who lives here or comes here knows this, that it feels that it gets worse every year. Also public transport, I hope this is the right one. Oh, wow, okay. Public transport, where we work on, has issues as well. The issue is not that there's a lack of demand, there's too much demand, and the supply is not catching up. And people literally have to push into the buses to get on, to get in the bus. Why is this important? Public transport in Tirana is predominantly used by women. Up to 69% of all public transport users are women, and they use public transport more than men for work and educational purposes. So any investment you do in public transport in Albania, we've done the same surveys in other cities in Albania, is to promote also gender equity and opportunities for women and young women in Albania. Yesterday we had a talk, and Gustavo talked about Jane Jacobs, who lived in Toronto, where I lived as well, many years after her, obviously. And I bought this T-shirt many years ago for my daughter, and it says, "What would Jane Jacobs do?" And that became a little bit of a household joke in my home when we complain about certain things, how cities look like. And we still have this T-shirt, but my daughter's too big now, of course, for this. So what's the GIZ strategy here in Albania towards, let's say, smart governance? As I said, we work a lot on public transport, but also on walking, on cycling. We use data, we work with people, we transform data into information, and then use this for establishing new processes within the government, outside the government, or at municipal level, and then hopefully have some impact. This, of course, sounds a little bit theoretical, and I'm pretty sure we have people here with experience in government and know how governments work. The issue often is that when I talk about data, the data looks like this often. This is a picture from one ministry, and I'm not saying which one in Albania. But if we want to talk about smart cities, the reality we work in, also in Germany, it's not just Albania, often it looks like this. Please don't look for the ministry now, which one it is. I have many other pictures from other municipalities and ministries. But this is the reality we work in. So when you see shiny apps, nice platforms, the reality is that a lot of data is just sitting there, but it's not transformed into what we call actionable information. And our whole theory of change is that we as GIZ, we are not developing one big study and then have a workshop, but we help our partners to develop many or change many routines or processes, and this incremental change and the sum of those incremental changes leads to transformational change. Has this been working in Albania? To some degree. I think traffic is still bad. Certain sidewalks are still not great. There's a lot of construction going on, but in terms of public transport, I think there have been some measurable successes. When we started, there was no collection of any data really on public transport. We didn't know if the buses are running or not. My favorite story is always when we asked how many buses are running, they said, well, we have 200 under contract, and then when we started looking, there were 100 buses running. So that's, of course, a problem. And so on and so on. So we worked on a lot of different processes, creating maps, tracking buses, at the end, introducing some type of subsidy scheme to increase reliability of the bus service, digitalizing data so that you now on Google Maps, you can live track buses, and then later also you could complain about if the bus is not running on time. So for the first time, having a full cycle of customer feedback integrated as well. Is everything perfect yet? No, of course not, but it's a right trajectory. Same for walking. With our partners here in Tirana, we worked or established a walking task force to look at different small-scale projects that could be implemented within months or years. Of course, it always takes longer than planned, but there's now this momentum that even the Prime Minister talks about super blocks, about school streets, about public transport. That's, of course, not new to him as an architect, but it still gets a certain attention because every country has a lot of issues. And maybe not every prime minister talks about super blocks. So that's, I think, already a success. We've seen that cycling schools have been established. As I mentioned already, this conference came here. Of course, it's just a conference, but again, from this, there have been follow-up discussions as well. So how do we measure success? Last 2 slides, I think. It's not really just in terms of outputs, what we provide to our partners, but actually what's coming or what's arriving at the passenger or citizens side as well. And what you can see is on the bottom, hopefully most of you can see it, it's customer satisfaction. So are people happy with the bus service? And the different colors show you the different years. So white means 2022 when we did it the first time, yellow is 2025 and in between the other years. And although it's on a very low level, and it was on a very low level in terms of satisfaction, all those categories move to the right direction. So people, generally speaking, are a little bit happier now than they were 3-4 years ago. Why is this? Because we worked on many of these categories: information inside the bus, outside the bus, letting more buses running, that they're not as crowded, and so on and so on. You can see that there are more buses running. This is bus kilometers, and ridership also exceeded now pre-COVID levels, which is of course the right tendencies. So I found it funny yesterday night. Hopefully it's still funny. When we talk about smarter and more inclusive cities, everyone can contribute to this, not just prime ministers, but everyone. This is from, I think, the New Yorker at that time. And I mean, sorry, maybe it's not a good joke, but let's all be a little bit more smarter and inclusive than this man in this subway. We don't have subways in Tiranas, but also in buses, people, especially women, complain about certain behaviors. So that's something, of course, we can work on together. Thank you so much.